Hey guys, so today we're going to teach you a little bit about Irish symbols. Some you may already know, like the flag, but others you may not, like the Book of Kells. First, Paula will show you the aims that we have for our lesson. Then I'm going to tell you something about the Irish flag and about what it represents. After that, Paula will teach you a little about the shamrock, though some may know it as the Irish three-leaf clover. She will also talk about the most well-known beer in Ireland, Guinness. I then will tell you something about St. Patrick, and lastly, Paula will explain the Book of Kells.
For the lesson today, we'd like to give you some aims. First of all, we hope after our presentation that you got a little bit more knowledge of Irish symbols. We would love that because Ireland is about Shamrock. Everybody knows Shamrock. Everybody knows St. Patrick. But we want to give you also a little bit out about the history and if they are national symbols, yes or no. And also we hope with this lesson that you have a little bit of better understanding about Irish culture and why people do certain things in their country.
First of all, we're going to look at the flag of Ireland. It's a vertical tricolour. If we break it down, you obviously have a green stripe on the left side, white in the middle, and an orange stripe on the right side. So, first of all, we have the green stripe, and green is a very old and traditional colour that belongs to Ireland. The colour represents the Catholics, but also has another meaning. It was seen as a colour of rebellion, and the Irish were in rebellion for quite a long time because of the English and later British occupation of most of the country. Now, at the same time, you had people who were Protestant in Ireland, and they had a favorite colour as well, which wasn't green like the Catholics, but orange. The reason it was orange is because of William of Orange. Yes, the Dutch William of Orange, who was basically the face of the Protestantism. In short, it was that there was a Catholic population who were a majority in Ireland, and there was a Protestant population who was essentially there because they'd basically been planted there by the kings of Scotland and England to subdue the Irish in an attempt at ethnic cleansing. Now, they were kind of having a hard time as they were outnumbered by the Catholics and they were constantly fighting, and it seemed like they might all be killed. However, at the last minute, the Dutch invaded during the Glorious Revolution, and William of Orange basically saved the day. So that's why the Protestants used the color orange. Lastly, the white in the middle represents a lasting truce between two cultures who live in peace. So basically, the flag represents the Catholics and the Protestants who now live in peace together.
And now I would love to talk with you about the shamrock. The shamrock is a symbol of Ireland. Everybody has seen the symbol, has recognized it. But it's a funny fact. The national symbol of Ireland is not the shamrock. Everybody thinks so, and everybody has a point. I know the shamrock from Ireland, but the national symbol of Ireland is the heart. But that aside, the shamrock, you have seen it with 4 leaves. The shamrock has 3 leaves, and that has a reason because the shamrock has a connection with Saint Patrick. Saint Patrick used it in his history to point out the Holy Trinity as a metaphor. So that's why the Irish shamrock has 3 leaves instead of 4. The clover is called shamrock because it comes from the Irish word shamrock, which reference to the Irish word for small plant. In the Victorian times, the shamrock is used for medical product. And nowadays, if you come to Ireland, if you go to Ireland, you see the shamrock on every plane, building, poster, tourist route, where you can imagine, because it's really a big symbol for me. And even though the shamrock is not the national symbol of Ireland, the shamrock is still heavily protected by Ireland. And they did it with the Trademark Act in 1996. And that means, the Trademark Act, that you cannot use the symbol if you want to, but you have to get permission. And only the Minister of Trade, Enterprise An initiative can approve applications for using the Shamrock. So this little and lovely clover is not the only symbol of Ireland. It's also having a trademark that is in connection with St. Patrick. So for this part about Guinness, I would like to start with a quote by George Best, one of the best soccer players, football players in Ireland history. In 1969, I gave up women and alcohol. It was the worst 20 minutes of my entire life. George Best talks here about women and alcohol. I'm only gonna talk about alcohol and the meaning of Guinness. In Ireland, it's famous for the beer, and that is called Guinness. This beer is a dry stout that is original brewed in the brewery of Arthur Guinness at the St. James Gates in Dublin, Ireland. He brewed it for the first time in the year of 1759. Guinness is since then one of the most successful beers worldwide. Nowadays, the beer is brewed in almost 15 countries, and the beer has been sold in more than 120 countries at this moment. And if you want to know how many liters worldwide has been sold, in 2011, the brewery sold over 850 million liters of beer, and that is only in 1 year. One fun fact about Guinness is that it's using the national symbol on their products, and the national symbol of Ireland is the heart. And there are two things I would love to say about Guinness because it's really special about this beer. The first thing is that it's used for culinary reasons. In Ireland, Guinness is used in many dishes that we cook. One of the dishes that is the most popular in Ireland, has Guinness in it, is Guinness steak and pie. This recipe includes Irish herbs, beef brisket, cheeses, and a can of Guinness, of course. But in America, Guinness is also standard used to cook everything. In America, they use it for French toast, for beef stew, and that is something you don't see very often because most of the time, for every dish, another beer has been used. And in Holland, we don't use a lot of beer in our dishes. And the second thing that I would like to talk about is about the way it's served. Guinness has a special kind of care need before you can serve it. First, Guinness, you can tap it, and it's the best when it's tapped, by the way. The beer comes from a tap in the glass. With normal beers, you can drink it because it's not. But with Guinness, you tap the beer only for 3/4 in the glass, and then leave it on the counter for exactly 119.5 seconds. And if you've done that, then you can tap the rest in it, then the glass is full. Then you leave it there for another 5 seconds, and then you can drink it. They do this because of the flavors of the beer. So I hope in this little part you have learned something about this beer, about the brand. And it's also the most sold beer in Ireland and in the world. And it's also a beer that is the most drunk with St. Patrick's Day. So I hope you enjoy it.
Now I'm going to tell you a bit about St. Patrick. Patricius, or St. Patrick, is the most well-known missionary and bishop in Ireland. According to the Confessio, his Confessions, St. Patrick was abducted by Irish pirates when he was 16. They took him from Britain to Ireland to work as a slave. It was his job to look after the animals. After 6 years, he got religious visions, which helped him escape. Back in Britain, he became a cleric and was sent back to Ireland by Pope Celestinus to evangelize pagans there. Later in life, he worked as a bishop, but very little is known about that. Now, if you look up pictures of St. Patrick, you can see he is often portraited with snakes he points at. This is because of an old legend. St. Patrick would have banished all the snakes from Ireland, and that's why the island is snake-free. What a lot of people don't know, however, is that the snakes is probably a metaphor for the early pagan religions of Ireland. Now, he didn't physically drive out the pagans from Ireland, but he established Christianity there. A lot of people started following that belief, and that's how he banished the pagan religions. Nowadays, he's remembered on St. Patrick's Day, the 17th of March, which is the supposed date of his death.
So, and now for our final chapter, I would like to talk a little bit about the Book of Kells. If you talk about Ireland, you can certainly not forget the Book. The Book of Kells is also known as the Book of Columbia. This book is quite holy. It's a manuscript of a gospel book that has been translated from Latin. The book contains four gospels and the New Testament together, with prefatory text and some tables. This book is made in the monastery in either Britain or Ireland. They don't know for sure in which country. It's created around the year of 800 AD. The Book of Kells is one of the oldest completed books in the world because in our whole world, the Bible is the first produced and then this book is produced. The book is still in the world. It's located now in Dublin, Ireland, at the Trinity College. The Book of Kells is also being called the greatest treasure of Europe from the medieval. Why? Because it's one of the oldest books with a great history, and the book has survived a lot of things, from being shipped to a church that and also carried from church to church, and it's also been in a church that is burned to the ground. If you want to see it, you can go to Dublin and go to the Trinity College. Every day they turn a page of the book because the book must be in shape and be in good order. So that's why they do that. And that was my small thing about the book of cats.
So, that was our online presentation. Thank you so much for watching, and if you have any questions, please ask them in the comments down below.